request. Goldman Sachs, the lead banker from Goldman Sachs, told me, Bill, even if the board invites you on with your one seat or with one independent director, they're never going to take you seriously. I know this board. They're going to put you in a corner. You're wasting your time. That was the way that the company, or at least the company's advisor, attempted to convince us not to run a slate. That made me quite concerned. That's what motivated me to put up a slate of directors. But Ron, do you have a point of view there?
Well, I have a strong point of view about management having the benefit of directors who are a step back. I mean, think about the way the present slate works up. There are 4 target nominees. There are 5 slots. So what Target is doing, telling you vote for our 4, and then also vote for a proposal to shrink the size of the board by 1. That position is essentially saying, look at the 5 people sitting up here, not one of them, any one of you chose, not one of them can add value to that board. That's not a relationship between management and the board that's going to be productive in a time where the only thing we know about the nature of the recovery we're looking at is that we're going to have more and more volatility, and where the interaction between the board and management is going to become more important. The coaching that Jim described is going to become more important, and the notion that the Target is better off shrinking the board rather than any of the individuals up here seems to me to speak very, very loudly.
Any further thoughts for any of our nominees, or should we let them have lunch? We'll let them eat cake, like Richard said. We'll take one last question from the audience.
I have something.
Oh, please.
I'm in the real estate business. I think it's common knowledge that it's been very difficult times for publicly traded companies in the real estate business. I have a board at Winthrop which is very, very bright, very, very independent. I think our board meetings are, to some extent, sometimes like a dinner where people are raising the stakes, discussing things very vocally. I would say, without a doubt, that the survival of Winthrop, why we have survived, why we have done relatively well in this economy, why we delevered, and all of the things that we talk about, came about from the dialectical discussions we had on the board. It would not, if management, including myself, had just sat there and said, this is what we should do, and everyone had nodded their heads, I think we would be suffering much more. We benefited enormously from the input of people who had different perspectives. We had a credit person, we had a corporate governance person, we have different people, different insights, and but for that, I don't think we would be doing nearly as well as we're doing.
Actually, if I can just ask Jim this question for a second. Jim, what was your, actually I'll ask both Jim and Richard, what's your experience working with your board? How do you use a board of directors? Now that you're going to be on the other side of that, and having served on other boards, how do you view your role? Give us the management perspective, and then give us the perspective on how you, based on what you've learned as a CEO, how are you going to be as a director?
As a CEO and a chairman, I might add, I filled in the gaps. When I took over Pathmark as the chairman and CEO, it was the old group of Merrill Lynch Capital Partners, and there was no retailers on the board. The first thing I did was put a retailer on the board. As I go to Starbucks, I'm not the chairman, I'm the CEO. We too had some gaps to be filled with HR because it was a very people-intense business. We already had a consumer products goods individual in Craig Weatherup. We put a retailer on the board in Mike Allman, the CEO of JCPenney's. But here's a real-life story. So we had a crisis, and I'm not a consumer products manufacturing individual. I'm a retailer. And that example was, this is years ago, there was some bits of glass in the bottle of Frappuccino. I had no clue what to do. I picked up the phone. It was 10 o'clock at night, and Craig Weatherup talked me through it. He had the experience. Now, as a board member, on the board side, all the boards that I've served on, past and present, has been something that fits what I know so I can add value, whether it's retail, whether it's procurement on the Barry Callebaut board that I sit in now, whether it's governance, choosing a bench, choosing successors for the CEO or any of the EVPs. You're there too, 24/7, in my opinion, to be at the beck and call of the management team when they need you. And having the experience to do just that, believe it or not, after a period of time, the management team tends to start to like that because there's somebody they can go to that has experience